Lil Durk's hitman just revealed shocking details in court. Everyone's calling Lil Durk a bounty hunter, but the people who allegedly collected the bounty have just faced a judge. The 5 accused hitmen were arrested around the same time as Durk, plus, we've just found out that a member of the gang may have snitched. It's crazy. But that's not all. Check this out. Durk's hitman's court hearing right now. All eyes are on Durk. But the hitmen who carried out the crime have just been to court in the hearing. A lot more about the case and those involved was revealed on the 24th of October. Federal agents swooped in and arrested 5 men in connection with an August 2022 shooting in LA. They say the rapper Quando Rondo was the target, but he managed to escape unscathed. However, his cousin, known as LPO, was killed. The prosecution is saying it was a retaliation for King Von's death, since Quando Rondo and his crew were involved in that. So, before Durk was arrested, the police went after 5 men. They are Kevin Grant, DeAndre Wilson, Keith Jones, David Lindsay, and Asa Houston. At least 3 of them are known members of OTF, Lil Durk's music label that police are claiming is also a gang. Although police are now saying Durk is the mastermind behind the shooting, he's not named in the alleged hitman's case. In other words, they've got a completely separate case against them. What's interesting is that even before the hitmen were arrested, Durk has been trying to fight off allegations that OTF was a gang, and now it's going to be even harder every day since their arrests. More and more details about their alleged crimes and their roles in the Quando Rondo shooting are being revealed. But who are these men, and what part did they play in the murder? Well, the police are saying these 3 are the main perpetrators, and that the guy on the right, Kevin Grant, was the leader of the operation. These 3, as well as the other 2 that were arrested, first appeared in court on October 24th in Illinois, but they're expected to be arraigned in a court soon as of November 4th. We know that 3 of them are still being held in Illinois, and 2 are in federal prison in Chicago while they wait to be transferred to California. Since their court date, we found out some key details about their roles in the shooting. The prosecutors alleged that the gang flew out from Chicago to California and then hired 2 vehicles that worked in tandem to stalk Quando and his entourage. They claimed that Durk put a bounty on Q's life, and these men were the ones who wanted to claim it. According to the prosecution, they used cards linked to OTF as well as Durk to book one-way flights from Chicago to San Diego on August 18, 2022, a few days before the shooting. It's also been revealed that they booked a hotel room at the Sharon Universal Hotel in Universal City, California. Here is CCTV footage of their alleged rented vehicles following the car Quando Rondo was in. What's also been revealed is that Lil Durk himself also flew to California on the same day. However, unlike them, he took a private jet. The prosecution has also claimed that Durk provided them with guns and ski masks to carry out the hit. It may sound like a very dumb idea for Durk to have flown to the scene of the crime, but he probably wanted to make sure it was done properly. But even with him allegedly being there to oversee it, they still couldn't get Quando Rondo anyway. It was also revealed that Kev Grant flew together with Durk on his private jet and acted as his eyes and ears throughout the operation. The prosecution claims that it was Grant under Durk's command that purchased the hotel room and also the 2 white cars that were used to pursue Quando Rondo. They say that after they were all set up, they took off in search of Quando Rondo, and when they found him, they stalked him all over the city. At the time, Quando was in the car with his sister and cousin LP. They then say Quando drove around the city doing various activities and stopping off at different places without any idea that there were murderers following him, and then they decided to stop off at a gas station to fill up their tank. When the hitmen saw him stop, they knew it was their chance to strike. And so at a gas station on Beverly Boulevard, one of the cars that alleged had Asa Houston, Keith Jones, and David Lindsay drove to an alleyway behind it. They then hopped out and began firing shots at Quando Rondo's parked car. All hell broke loose, and by some miracle, Quando dodged all the bullets. His sister was also unharmed, but his cousin sadly lost his life. According to the official indictment, the hitman then retreated and regrouped at a local hamburger restaurant. It was at this restaurant that the prosecutors claimed they discussed their payment and also booked return flights to Chicago. Incriminating texts between Durk and the Alleged hitmen were also revealed in court, and they claim he sent them a message saying, "Don't book no flights under no names involved with me." So as you can see, there is heaps of evidence against them, and things aren't looking good for their prospects of getting away with it. But it gets worse. One of Durk's gang members has allegedly snitched. The snitch Durk and his alleged gang OTF used to brag about loyalty. But now they can't say that it's because one of their members, OTF Jam, has allegedly become a rat and has been working with the police to bring his comrades down. Nobody would have thought it since he's been part of the group for nearly 2 decades. But now we're finding out that he wore a wire for 12 whole years. The reports say he was directly feeding the police info about Durk and the rest of the crew. It's also super coincidental. But Jam was serving a 12-year prison sentence and was apparently released just a few days before the gang allegedly headed to Beverly Hills to carry out the hit. If you've not heard of OTF Jam, he's a rapper himself and has a few songs on Durk's official YouTube channel. So he's not just some random guy. You could say he was a part of Durk's inner circle. But another rapper from Chicago called King Yella has just out and spoken about Jam and what he thinks about him snitching. Take a look.
Lil Durk been picked up by the feds. I don't know if he's been charged with nothing. Probably questioning him. They put in OTF and a lot of things. But I heard somebody named OTF Jam. They said they've been calling him a rat. And basically he said, okay, I'm a rat. Well, watch this. Watch this. That all this information that I know. Rat this, I'm gonna tell this, I'm gonna tell that. My video earlier, I told y'all, man, if somebody say Durk name, that's all it's gonna take to say that man's name. And obviously, like I said earlier too, if they come, they coming.
After that, he further elaborates about how screwed they are.
Somebody telling, somebody from OTF, somebody OTF affiliated, somebody that know enough information on Lil Durk and his crew. And it's messed up. That's why I'll be saying, I don't care how much money you got, what's going on, man, these people will throw you. Maybe Durk felt it already. He felt that it was coming. It was something coming. He knew something was coming. You know how he knew something coming? Because everybody kept saying he's trying to dodge that Rico. Everybody been saying this. So if everybody else knew it, you think he wasn't in his head? Mama Duck suing him.
While Durk may have a few incriminating songs, OTF Jam actually has a few songs where he appears to be admitting to it. And even dissing Durk in the song, he speaks about Durk and other OTF-affiliated members being involved in shootings. But that's not the first time Jam's released a song where he might have admitted to it. It's called Federal Freestyle. And even if that sounds too suspicious to be true, it actually is. It's a real song. Believe it or not, what's crazy is that it was even released on Durk's official YouTube channel just after Jam got out of jail. Durk fans have roasted him in the comments, and some of them are pretty funny. One fan said a Jam turn, "Your wire up this, my feds," and somebody else put this, "Came home wearing a wire and still made this track, NGL, that's some nasty work." So it's starting to look like OTF aren't as loyal as they claim to be. For years, people look at Chicago as having the most dangerous and real gangsters in America. But it looks like that might be changing. I guess money talks. But people are saying it wasn't even money that motivated Jam to snitch. Apparently it was McDonald's. Here's a picture of Jam from allegedly inside the interrogation room. This was taken while he was incarcerated, which is also when people are saying he decided to turn rat and work with the police. Although it doesn't prove he definitely snitched. Come on, why else would he be eating McDonald's inside jail anyway? Wack 100 is another guy who had a few things to say about the situation. Speaking with DJ Vlad, Wack said he did 12 years, got out, interviewed, said he kept it real, brought him cars, gave him $50,000, made mention that ain't no smudge on his name. He ain't never been a rat, caught a gun case, but eventually he flipped. DJ Vlad then explained that Jam served a 12-year prison sentence for attempted murder, which happened back in 2010. They also speak about just how strange the timing of his release was, as it was just a few days before the shooting took place. Right now, things aren't looking good for Jam's situation. And if I was him, I'd be staying far away from Chicago at the moment. The main part of this case for the prosecution anyway is to prove that OTF is, in fact, a criminal gang as well as a record label with all the evidence they have plus an insider. It might not be that hard for them to do that. And if one of them falls, what's stopping the rest of them from giving up their comrades for a chance at freedom? If this wasn't bad enough, we've recently found out that Lil Durk's been hit with even more charges. Durk's brand new charges on the 8th of November. News came out that Durk was facing even more charges in connection with the murder for hire plot. And if he gets convicted, he could face life imprisonment. Reports say Durk was indicted by a grand jury on 2 new felony charges in connection with the crime of putting hit out on Quando Rondo and also the murder of pooh, who was killed in the crossfire. They announced on the app that if he's found guilty of these charges, he'll be behind bars for the rest of his life. Right now, Durk is 32 years old and his music career was starting to gain serious momentum. It'll be his worst nightmare if he has to spend the rest of what was going to be a life of luxury behind bars. The new charges, which have only dug his hole deeper, consist of a few things. First off, he's facing 1 count of conspiracy, 1 count of using interstate facilities to commit murder for hire resulting in death, 1 count of using, carrying, and discharging firearms and a machine gun. You've got to remember that these are brand new charges on top of the ones he's already facing. The original charges are from his arrest on October 25th near Miami Airport. The reason he was at the airport was because he was likely trying to flee the country. We say likely because we don't know for sure. But since he had also booked 2 separate flights, one to Switzerland and one to Italy, I think it's safe to say he was trying to throw the police off his trail and escape the country. This would explain why the judge denied his bail. And for now, he's sitting in a Florida jail before he, along with the other co-defendants, will be transferred to Lit to face justice. There it looks like the prosecution isn't just trying to tie him to the attempted murder of Quando Rondo and the murder of LPO. From what we know about the indictment and his recent charges, they're using this as an opportunity to bring down his entire enterprise, which mainly centers around his alleged gang and music label, OTF. According to the indictment in 2010, Durk formed the organization called OTF. It says that on the surface, OT's purpose was to record, produce, and promote music for a band. Coming Chicago rappers. However, the prosecution is saying that that was only one of the group's purposes, and it was also used to commit crimes. They're saying that OTF was also an association of criminals. The gang allegedly also engages in violence, including murder and assault. They say Durk is the mastermind behind all of it, and that violence is encouraged within the gang to boost individual members' status. They're saying that Durk's feud with Quando Rondo is what led to him utilizing the gang to carry out the shooting. Here's what an official U.S. attorney had to say about Durk's involvement. Durk's real name is Durk Banks. And here's what the attorney said about it. Mr. Banks is charged with orchestrating a cold-blooded murder that resulted in the death of a rival's family member. That's not all this prosecutor has said, though she also outlines the severity of the crime and suggests that under no circumstances will they be going lightly on Durk. They said not only that the shooting occurred in the open at a gas station at a busy intersection, endangering many others in the area, violent gun crime of this sort is devastating to our community, and we will have zero tolerance for those who perpetrate such callous acts of violence. You've got to remember, he hasn't even got to California yet. The prosecution also mentions how Durk's attempt to leave the country only makes things worse, and that it proves that the FBI and the police departments have very long and powerful reach. An FBI prosecutor from LA had this to say: the apprehension of Mr. Banks as he attempted to leave the United States is once again proof that the FBI and our extraordinary partners at the Los Angeles Police Department have a long reach. It's never good when the FBI are involved, and the signs show that they're coming down hard on Durk. The same FBI director even seemed to mock Durk in his statement. Check this out. They said no excuse can justify this vile act. And let me be clear while you're going about your life thinking you got away with it. The FBI is piecing together the facts that will serve as your undoing. That's the last thing you'll be wanting to hear if you're Durk right now. But they make an interesting point. The murder took place nearly 2 years ago, so Durk probably did think he got away with it. but note behind the scenes, the FBI and all police departments were piecing together the puzzle and waiting for the right time to strike. Another police officer who's been working on the case made a comment which sheds light on why it took them so long to arrest him. This was a police chief, and they said, cases like these that span multiple states and jurisdictions are complicated and can oftentimes only be resolved through the collaboration of multiple departments. They then say how the case took hundreds of hours to piece together. The hundreds of hours spent on the investigation included surveillance, authoring numerous search warrants using forensic technology, and tireless investigative travel and collaboration alongside our federal partners led to this arrest. So you may be thinking, surely this can't get any worse for Durk, but it can. He's also been linked to a completely separate murder, Durk's other murder. On October 9, 2024, a lawsuit was filed against Durk. It was regarding another murder. This was only about a week before Durk's arrest in connection with LPB's shooting. You could say October was a terrible month for him. This one came from the mother of FBG Duck, a well-known and notorious Chicago rapper who was murdered in cold blood back in 2020. They're saying this is another case of Durk using his gang OTF to take out his enemies. FBG Duck had beef with Durk due to being members of separate Chicago gangs, and they dissed each other in their songs. Duck had a few songs which allegedly were about Durk that went viral, and it seems that was enough for Durk to take action. What's surprising about Duck's death, though, is that it came very shortly after King Von's death. King Von was a close friend of Durk, and in a lot of ways, Durk was like a mentor to him. But according to this lawsuit, instead of mourning, Durk was planning on taking out his ops. So here's how they say it went down. In August 2020, FBG Duck was visiting the Gold Coast in Chicago while he was waiting outside a Dolce & Gabbana store. He was attacked. It wasn't just him, though he was there with his girlfriend and a friend. When a car rolled up and gunmen started opening fire, Duck was killed and the two others were wounded in the lawsuit. Duck's mother issued a strong statement about how it affected her. She said, "Not a day goes by that I don't think about him and the life that was taken from him. That murder took place 4 years ago." But his mother sees this as a perfect time to make Durk face justice for it. Although 6 men have already been convicted for Duck's murder, his mother, as well as his girlfriend, are filing a lawsuit against Lil Durk that claims he was the mastermind behind the shooting. They say he put money on Duck's head, and members of his gang were the ones to retrieve it. It sounds very similar to his other case, doesn't it? The attorney who's handling the case also had a few things to say about what happened to Duck. Our complaint lays out that a $100,000 bounty was placed on the life of FBG Duck to have him killed. Understandably, his mother would want to take down Durk if she believed he was behind it. But there's more. She's not just after Durk. She wants to topple his entire empire. She claims in her lawsuit that the whole OTF enterprise is responsible, and she wants to bring down anyone associated with them. But there are some really big people associated with OTF. Remember, they're a music label, right? However, they're partnered with Sony and Interscope, 2 of the world's biggest record labels. It might sound like a bit of a stretch linking those big labels to these crimes, but according to Duck's mother and her lawyer, they're guilty by association. And also because these labels knowingly sign artists that are engaged in gang activity. Although that's probably true, it's unlikely anybody from Sony or will face justice, but you can't blame them for trying. Here's what the lawyer said they want: authenticity, which has bred these type of individuals getting in the music business, carrying out their active activities, and the record label companies are fueling it, financing it, developing brands for it. You've got to admit, he has a point. There's no way record labels don't know they're signing gangsters, especially when pretty much all of their songs talk about it. The lawyer also said, that's where it crosses the line. When you take it from the music, and you take it to the public in the streets, and you kill someone. So far, neither Durk nor his record label has said anything about this lawsuit. But I guess they've been busy with the FBI, so you may want to know the details behind why Durk allegedly put a bounty on Duck's head. And from what we found, there's a little more to it than just diss tracks. The 6 men who were convicted of killing FBG Duck are known to be part of a gang called the Black Disciples. The BDS have been around for decades, and Durk, as well as King Vo, are said to be associated with it. Many OTF members are said to be a part of the Black Decibels. So Duck was allegedly part of their biggest rivals, the Gangster Disciples. It's quite confusing since their names are so similar, but they're basically two of Chicago's biggest gangs, and they've been beefing for nearly half a century. As a city, Chicago's gun crime is a huge problem. It's fair to say that these gangs are a big part of the problem. So it makes sense why the police and prosecution are really trying to put an end to it. A massive part of the lawsuit filed by Duck's mom is that Durk, as well as these labels, are exploiting the city's gang violence for money. The suit explicitly says a broader scheme of exploitation for profit by Lil Durk, his label, and their labels who were placing profit over human life. Still, despite these heinous accusations, there's a lot of evidence that Durk was at least attempting to change his ways. Durk wanted a fresh start. On September 23rd, Durk made an announcement that shocked everybody. He revealed that his criminal record was being wiped. It was hard to believe, but it looked like it was true. He's got an extensive criminal record that dates back to 2011 and has all kinds of crimes on it. So as you can imagine, Durk was over the moon about it. He broke the news on X with this heartfelt post. In the post, he says everybody should get second chances at life. It's about what you do with it. Alhamdulillah, my background wiped and clean of all cases. I ain't a felon anymore. He then writes, "Who would have thought? I want to thank everyone who helped push my vision forward. Thank you from the bottom of my heart." That definitely doesn't sound like words from a man accused of multiple murders. But it's worth noting that both of his alleged crimes took place over 2 years ago, so it's possible he could have changed his ways in recent times. If you're wondering what his criminal record consisted of, well, it was mainly gun-related charges. He was sentenced to 3 months in jail back in 2011 when he was only 19 for a weapons charge. He was then arrested again for gun charges 2 years later and sent to 18 months on probation. Those crimes were nowhere near as serious as the ones he's facing now. It looks like he was able to avoid legal trouble while his career took off, but it all changed in 2019. That year, he was arrested alongside King Von in relation to a shooting that took place in Atlanta. Nobody was killed, but a man was injured, and blamed Durk and King Von for it after a long and drawn-out legal case. Durk managed to escape the charges. When the charges for that case were being dismissed, the district attorney said the facts of this case have been reviewed, and although it appears that probable cause existed for the defendant's arrest, the decision of the district attorney at this time is not to prosecute. At the time, the prosecution said they had video evidence of him pulling the trigger, so he was very fortunate to get away with that one. But it looks like his luck ran out. His ex-post celebrating his criminal record being wiped wasn't the only sign he was turning over a new leaf, though on October 18th, around a week before his arrest, he got the keys to his city. Here you can see the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, giving him the historic keys. It's an honorary measure and is used to show gratitude and respect to people who have done exceptional things for the city. So you can probably see why the whole thing received a lot of backlash. It wasn't just the key he received, though the mayor also announced that they were going to partner with Lil Durk's charity Neighborhood Heroes. According to Durk, the charity is all about recognizing those local heroes who make the city better place. On their website, it says mission is to empower and collaborate with everyday heroes who are taking the lead to make positive change in the lives of those within under-resourced neighborhoods across the nation. It sounds pretty hypocritical since you know his music is all about murder and violence, but there's a chance he really was planning on taking his life in an entirely new direction. Here, you can see Durk in religious robes posing with students and other people involved in the charity. Not everyone was happy about it, though, especially since this was only a couple of weeks after FBG Duck's mother filed her lawsuit against him for the murder of her son. But the whole thing didn't last long. Pretty much as soon as he was arrested, they stripped the keys from him and cut ties with his nonprofit organization. Here's what the mayor said. While the American system of justice grants everyone the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in a court of law in the village of Broadview, the court of public opinion of residents has even higher moral and ethical standards of behavior. They then explained that due to the severity of the accusations, they don't want anything to do with him. Here's what else they said. Given the news that Lil Durk Banks has been arrested in Florida and charged with murder for hire, the village of Broadview is withdrawing our honorary key to the village granted to Durk and is terminating our partnership agreement with his youth organization. You can't really blame them. All of this information about his record being cleared his nonprofit organization and his getting the keys to the city might suggest that Durk was optimistic about his future. However, despite appearing that way underneath the surface, there's evidence he knew his arrest was imminent in his song Federal Nightmares, which was released back in 2022. Some of the lyrics are very telling. He talks about having nightmares about being arrested and thrown inside a federal prison, so now it looks like those dreams came true. Despite his best efforts at a clean start, his past came back to bite him. As of now, things aren't looking good for him or the other accused hitman, and very soon they'll be sent to face justice in LA where the crime took place. The FBI and police from LA have been slowly building a solid case, so if I was him, I wouldn't be too hopeful. However, if by some miracle he can get away with this, then from what we've seen, he might take his life in a different direction. It's a big if, but his recent conversion to Islam shows that he probably was trying to change his ways. That was in August, and he claimed that he didn't gangbang anymore and was a practicing Muslim. In an Instagram post, he doubled down on it and said, "Don't label me nothing outside of a man, a father, and a 1000% Muslim." And when asked about it, he also had this to say: basically what I was saying on my post, in so many words, you can't do both, Emma, the one who say it. He then urged his fans and friends to follow him down this new path. He said, "So, if you follow me as a brother, a friend, an icon, follow me to my new chapter of life. It's a great sentiment, but it may be a little too late. I'm sure time will tell." If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more of rap's craziest stories, click one of the cards on the screen now.